Welcome to the debate. Today, we are diving deep into maximizing legitimate revenue for contractors. We're specifically drawing our insights from author Latif's Chapter 18, which is all about manufacturer requirements and warranties. This material really holds the key to defensible supplements that can, dramatically increase claim payouts.
It really can.
And the central question we're debating is pretty fundamental to that success. Which tool provides the contractor with the most robust, non-negotiable justification when they're supplementing for required installation methods and materials? Is it the specific manufacturer specifications, or is it the general building codes? My position is clear. I think manufacturer specs, when they're properly deployed, create a highly defensible, triple-lock justification that is, well, it's just exceedingly difficult for carriers to deny.
Okay, I absolutely understand the appeal of detailed specifications. I do. But I come at it from a slightly different perspective. I would argue that the general building codes, specifically the International Residential Code, the IRC, provide the strongest foundational legal mandate. Look, code compliance is the universal standard that underpins every single restoration policy. And I think mastering the primary codes is simply the quickest way to secure approval for those foundational items regardless of the brand chosen or, the nuances of a specific product warranty.
I think the distinction isn't just about which document we're citing first. It's really about which document gives you the most detail for the highest value and often missed labor and material components. My whole argument for manufacturer specifications creating this triple lock defense, it hinges entirely on how the codes themselves treat the specs. We all know the IRC is the ultimate law, but Latif points out that IRC 1507.2.8 explicitly mandates that asphalt shingles shall, and that's the key word, shall be secured in accordance with the manufacturer's installation instructions. That single sentence instantly elevates the detailed manufacturer requirement, which covers everything from fastening patterns to specialty materials, into a totally non-negotiable legal requirement. So the triple lock is this: specific manufacturer detail, which is enforced by the IRS legal mandate, which in turn guarantees the pre-loss warranted condition, and that eliminates the contractor's liability.
That's a compelling framing of the synergy, I'll give you that. But I still maintain that the path of least resistance and, frankly, maximum efficiency lies in leading with the IRC. Desk adjusters are they're trained to push back on anything they can label a warranty upgrade or some brand-specific detail. When we cite the universal primary code foundation for an item, we bypass that whole semantic debate entirely. For example, citing IRC 905.2.8.5 for the requirement of a drip edge on all eaves and gables, that's a clear, mandatory legal mandate. It simplifies the entire claim review process because the adjuster can't argue the jurisdiction hasn't adopted the IRC, and they certainly can't argue that a drip edge is discretionary. It is a critical, legally unavoidable component of a compliant roofing system.
Drip edge is foundational, sure, but the general codes often stop short of justifying specialized labor items. And those are the very items that constitute significant additional revenue for the contractor. Let's consider the common requirement for hand sealing all asphalt shingles on steep slopes. I'm talking pitches of 712 or greater. That specialized labor often adds, 10 to 15 squares of additional labor line items to the estimate? That can sometimes generate revenue equivalent to the cost of the shingles themselves. And this revenue is almost always missed in the carrier's initial estimate. The justification for that high-value labor isn't a simple IRC chapter. It's found directly in the manufacturer's published installation instructions, which require hand sealing to prevent wind damage and to maintain the warranty. When we couple that detailed spec with the 1507.2.8 mandate, we transition from requesting specialized labor to demanding compliance with the legally required installation method.
I'm just not convinced that the highly specific, sometimes difficult to locate manufacturer document offers a better first line of defense than the universal code, even for a high-value item like hand sealing. Yes, the spec is precise, but its utility is sort of undermined by its lack of immediate universality. How quickly can you really pull up that specific page for that specific discontinued brand the roof had?
Well, the preparation is key, and Latif's material stresses that preparation.
My core contention remains that manufacturer specifications are superior because they are specific and documented, leaving absolutely no room for subjective interpretation regarding the method of installation. When a contractor documents the pitch, provides the specific manufacturer's sheet requiring hand sealing, and then grounds that necessity in the legal requirement to restore the warranted condition, the denial becomes almost indefensible. We are using the specification to defeat the adjuster's inherent assumption that, all shingles are installed the same way regardless of the slope.
That assumes the adjuster is ready to deep dive into a 30-page technical manual. I would argue that we should use the law that applies to every single roof restoration. Let's look at Ice and Water Shield, IWS. When an adjuster denies IWS as a code upgrade, the strongest, clearest response is showing the jurisdiction adopted IRC 95.2.7.1. That mandates a weather barrier extending at least 24 inches past the interior warm wall in ice-damming regions. That is a direct mandate. It doesn't rely on brand or warranty length or pitch. It relies on geography and structure. This is a checkmate argument that is instantaneous and, universally recognized by the carrier's own legal department because it's a required structural component, not some discretionary material detail.
And while the IWS example is undeniably effective, it addresses a universal structural component. Manufacturer specs are the indispensable tool when you're justifying specialized materials that look like optional upgrades but are in fact necessary for system functionality and the warranty. This brings us directly to a key supplement opportunity where adjusters routinely underestimate the ridge cap. Adjusters frequently assume ridge caps can be fashioned simply by cutting up waste shingles. This minimizes the material cost, and it just ignores specialized product requirements, forcing the contractor to rely on an artificially low waste allowance assumption.
I'm sorry, but I just don't buy that the specification is the primary justification here.
It absolutely is, because the manufacturer specification requires a separate, dedicated ridge cap product, usually a high-profile or a layered product, to maintain the warranty coverage and the aesthetic integrity. If you install a mismatched ridge cap, you instantly violate the warranty, and what's more, you violate the broader IRC 1506.2, which requires all materials within a roofing system to be compatible. That manufacturer document is the singular piece of evidence that proves the cut-up shingle assumption violates both the specific warranty and the general code compatibility rule. This is a significant revenue stream, as dedicated ridge cap is substantially more expensive than standard shingles, and it requires additional labor to install. You are correcting a core assumption of the estimator that standardization applies everywhere.
That's a compelling argument for material compatibility, I'll grant you that. But I would frame the debate differently. I believe contractors secure faster, less contested revenue with foundational code requirements that are tied to demonstrable damage, regardless of the specific material brands. Consider the replacement of valley metal, an item adjusters often miss or just lowball. IRC 905.2.8.2 requires corrosion-resistant flashings. You don't need a warranty booklet to justify this replacement. You simply document the necessity during tear-off by providing photographic evidence of existing valley metal that's rusted, corroded, or just riddled with nail holes from previous repairs. This is an unavoidable code requirement tied to a demonstrable physical condition. And that photographic proof during demolition, that offers highly reliable supplement revenue independent of any specific shingle brand or warranty detail.
That photographic evidence is indeed critical for documenting hidden damage. That's a universal claim strategy. But let's return to the defensive aspect, because manufacturer specifications are arguably the most powerful tool for mitigating contractor liability. If a contractor accepts a carrier estimate that omits a required element like the hand sealing on a steep slope we talked about, they install the system knowing they are voiding the homeowner's warranty and potentially violating IRC 1507.2.8. This creates massive personal liability for the contractor if that roof fails prematurely. When a supplement for that necessary item is denied, the contractor then gains the ultimate negotiating leverage by shifting the liability right back to the carrier.
That strategy is immensely effective.
It's more than effective, it's a required ethical and business practice. The contractor simply asks the adjuster, "Are you directing me in writing to violate the legally mandated installation instructions, thereby voiding the warranty and incurring liability for the next 2 decades?" The adjuster cannot and will not put that direction in writing. This maneuver forces approval of the required labor item to protect the insurance carrier from future litigation and exposure. So the manufacturer's specification, backed by the IRC, becomes the ultimate liability shield.
Right. While that liability shield derived from the specs is powerful for warranty-specific labor, we just cannot overlook the sheer magnitude of structural supplements rooted purely in foundational building codes. Take unnailable decking. We use that technical terminology for structural decking that just won't hold a fastener. That's a structural requirement anchored in the Fire Code and the IRC for structural integrity, and it's entirely independent of the specific shingle brand. Documenting that the existing substrate cannot safely hold the new fasteners, an issue discovered during tear-off, is crucial decking revenue. It can often constitute thousands of dollars of non-negotiable structural repair. This revenue exists before you even choose a shingle color. The code establishes structural safety, while the spec details product performance. Both have to be mastered, but the code governs the largest safety-critical components.
And that's where we find our convergence. The most successful contractors, they utilize a holistic approach. But when you're evaluating the tool that provides the most specific and audit-proof defense for maximizing items often categorized as discretionary, specialized labor, proprietary materials, it is the manufacturer specification coupled with the IRC mandate from 1507.2.8 that truly achieves the triple lock. It covers the granular product detail, it satisfies the legal mandate, and, crucially, it restores the homeowner to a fully warranted pre-loss condition, driving maximal legitimate claim items and increased contractor profitability.
I agree that the synergy is where true expertise lies. However, a contractor must first achieve foundational mastery of the IRC. Regardless of the specific product brand or proprietary requirements, the building codes represent the universally mandated standard that frames every single restoration project and defines code-compliant repairs. Knowing the specific language of codes like 905.2.7.1 for ice and water shield and 905.2.8.2 for flashing replacement allows for supplements that are legally unavoidable and completely brand agnostic. The IRC is the language of legal necessity that sets the minimum requirement, which we then detail and elevate using the manufacturer specifications.
Indeed. What Latif's material really teaches us in Chapter 18 is that meticulous documentation combined with expert knowledge application is the path to fair compensation. Understanding both codes and specifications is how contractors truly increase their profitability and deliver compliance without cutting corners or, incurring liability.
Absolutely. We've certainly outlined plenty of essential material for our listeners to explore further in their own review of Latif's comprehensive guide, especially when they're focusing on how to transition from simply requesting payment to demanding compliance.
We have. Tune in for the next chapter where we will continue exploring insights from Latif's material, delving into the lucrative strategy of navigating discontinued materials and system repair requirements. Thank you for joining The Debate.